Hello and welcome to today's video. I hope you all are healthy. In today's video, I am going to demonstrate the step-by-step process to map a new EBS volume with Amazon EC2 instance. If you have provisioned a new EBS volume and attached with an existing EC2 instance, or you are creating an EC2 instance with additional EBS volumes and trying to troubleshoot why the EBS volumes are not accessible to the EC2 instance, then you are at the right place. Today I am going to demonstrate the step-by-step process to map an EBS volume with Windows EC2 instance. If you follow today's session without skipping any part, you should have a complete understanding on how EBS volume works. Before I start, I would like to request you, if you are new to our channel or haven't subscribed yet, then please subscribe to our channel and please click on the bell icon to get notification for any new topics. Let's get started and let's try to understand how EBS volume works. When you launch an EC2 instance, the EC2 instance will come with a root volume or a root EBS volume, and the architecture looks like this. Sometimes some instance family does not have an ephemeral storage or does not have an instance store. But if you are using a C-type instance, in that case you can get access to instance store or ephemeral storage. But if you are launching a T series, in that case you will not have any ephemeral storage or instance store and you will only have EBS volume. EBS is a network volume. When you provision any EBS volume or when you are creating an EC2 instance with a root volume, AWS will first provision a network drive for you from that EBS volume pool and then it will attach to your EC2 instance. The root volume will always name as /dev/sda1. If you are provisioning additional EBS volumes, AWS will provision one EBS volume from the volume pool, and after that you can attach that volume with the EC2 instance. Now additional volumes will be attached with the name XVDB or XVDC. When you will see in the AWS Management Console, I think it will give us a clear view. But for today's demo, I am trying to provision a new EBS volume. I am going to attach that EBS volume with an existing EC2 instance and I am going to show you how can you map that EBS volume as a drive in a Windows instance. Or if you have those mapping, how you can get what EBS volume is representing as C drive or D drive or E drive in your computer network or in your EC2 instance. Now let's get started. I will log into AWS Management Console. If you want to follow along, please log into your AWS Management Console and let's carry on with the demo part. I am in my AWS Management Console and I have already launched an Windows EC2 instance. If I'll select that EC2 instance and if I'll go to storage, you can see I have total 4 volumes. As I was showing in the diagram, the volume name with /dev/sda1, that is the root volume attached with your EC2 instance. When you will delete or terminate the EC2 instance, the root volume will be automatically deleted. If you see in the column delete on termination, it is yes. Since this is a root volume, it will also be deleted when you will terminate the EC2 instance. Other EBS volumes, what you have attached as an additional volume, by default it will not be deleted. To delete those, you have to go to EBS volume and from there you can delete. For this demo, let's create another one EBS volume and let's try to attach the EBS volume with this EC2 instance. Now if you may see, currently the EC2 instance is in US Test 1C availability zone. Please remember, EBS volume is a network volume and highly tagged with an availability zone. If you create an EBS volume in US Test 1A, you will be able to attach an EC2 instance that is available in USTist 1A only. You won't be able to attach with a cross availability zone EC2 instance. Now let's see that in action. From the left hand side, I'll go to Elastic Block Store. I'll select volume. You can see I have 4 existing EBS volumes. To create a new volume, I'll click create volume. You can select what volume type you want. For this demo, I'll go with GP2. Size I'll keep at 100 GB. And then availability zone, this time I'll select USTist 1C because my EC2 instance is in USTist 1C. I'll create the volume. Let's refresh the page. Now the volume has been created and it is available to attach. Now let's give a name to this volume. I'll use new volume. You can use whatever the name you want. Let's quickly give name for the other volumes also. And the top from the list, this is our boot volume. So I'll make as root volume or boot volume. Now let's attach the newly created EBS volume with the EC2 instance. I'll select the EBS volume. I'll go to action. I'll click attach volume and then I'll select the instance from the drop down. Attach volume. I have attached the EBS volume. I'll go back to the EC2 dashboard. Now if I'll select that EC2 instance and if I'll go to the storage tab, I should see the 5th EBS volume has been attached here. Now let's log into the EC2 instance and let's see how the EBS volumes are available or how you are seeing for the first time when you will launch an EC2 instance with additional EBS volume and how this volume looks like. I have logged into the EC2 instance using a RDP client. If you see the instance ID ends with CAA3. Now if I'll go back to the EC2 instance and if I'll see the instance ID CA33. So I am in my EC2 instance. Now let me go back. If I'll go to my computer or this PC, you can see we have only the C drive and C drive is 29.9 GB. Let me go back to the EC2 console. If I'll go to the storage, you can see only the root volume is visible by default. Then what happened with all those 4 EBS volumes or the additional EBS volumes? Why those are not appearing in the Windows EC2 instance? This kind of scenario you may come across in your day-to-day work. If you attached a new EBS volume with an existing EC2 instance, then you have to perform certain steps. Then only you will be able to access those volumes. And let's do that. From the Run menu, I'll select Disk Manager. I am in the disk management. Let me expand a little. The disk management has all those disks listed here. And if you see, all are offline. The first step would be we have to make the disk online. For that, I'll right click on the disk and I'll click online. Let's do that for all the EC2 instances. Now the status changed from offline to not initialized. The next step would be again I have to right click and I'll initialize disk. Now it will ask, do I want to initialize all the disk at a go? Why not? Since we have attached that EBS volumes, we have to initialize, right? That is why I'll select all the 4 disks and I'll click OK. Now the disk status changed to online. Now if we'll right click, you can see you can create span volume, you can create stripped volume, you can create mirrored volume, and you can create RAD5 volume. So these are the different options, or even you can create dynamic disk also. Let me create a span volume. If you want to make a span volume, in that case you can select all those disks and you can sum up those storage. For my use case, I have total 100 GB 4 disk. If I'll select all the disks together and if I'll configure as a span volume, then it will be considered as a one single volume of 400 GB. Now let me show you. I'll go to next, and then I want to assign as a D drive, and the format would be NTFS. For volume label, you can give any volume. Let's say I'll give file server. Then next and finished. Now it will do the partitioning and it will create a span volume consisting of all the 4 available EBS volumes with that EC2 instance. Now the formatting process initialized. It is formatting all the 4 disks. It is going to create a span volume of 400 GB. You can see the status as formatting, and we'll wait when the status will become healthy to access that disk. I'll pause the video here and I'll come back when the status will turn to healthy. EBS disk formatting process completed successfully. It took a long time, almost 30 minutes for the formatting process to be completed. As I was discussing, since we have created a span volume, that is why all the capacity is cumulated. All the individual disk is now working as a single disk of total volume 400 GB. Now let's go back to the Windows Explorer or File Explorer. If we'll go to this PC, now I have a C drive and a 400 GB combined D drive. Now let's see a different use case. Maybe we do not want all those individual disks to be spanned across a large volume. Maybe we want individual volumes. In that case, what we'll do? First, I will delete the volume. When I'll release the volume, now all those 100 GBs, it will be unallocated. Now let's try to create individual volumes from this disk. For that, I'll right click and I'll create new simple volume. I'll use this setup wizard and I'll go next. Maybe this time I would like to give the letter as D for this drive name. I'm fine with NTFS file system. Then finish. Now you can see disk 1 has been marked as drive D and this is healthy. Now let's repeat the same thing for disk 2, 3 and 4. Now we have created 4 individual drives from the 4 EBS volumes. If I'll go to File Explorer and if I'll go to this PC, I'll be able to see total 5 volumes or 5 drives. Out of that, one C drive, that is our boot volume. Other 4 drives that we have used 4 additional EBS volume. Now maybe you can use these drives for different purposes. Maybe you can use the D drive for log, or maybe for your personal files, or maybe E drive for file server. Now if I'll go back to AWS Management Console, if I'll select the EC2 instance, if I'll go to storage, I have the volume IDs. From the volume ID, I do not have a way to understand which drive is representing D drive, which is E drive, and so on. From the device name, I know which starts with /dev/sda. This is the root volume. That is why this volume is C drive. But how about out of the 4, which one is D drive, which one is E drive, and which one is F drive? Now let's try to find out that answer. I'll go back to my EC2 instance. I'll open Windows PowerShell. I'll start as an administrator. Then I'll use the command get disk. Get disk command will give me a mapping between the disk number and the volume ID. Now if I'll use the PowerShell and the disk management window side by side, you can see 0, the volume ID is BDF6. For disk number 1, the volume ID ends with F326, And in disk management, for disk number 1 is my D drive. Similarly, disk number 4 is my G drive. Volume ID ends with 91127. Now from here, if you go to AWS Management Console, you can see the mapping. That means this volume is representing my G drive, whereas this volume is representing my D drive. To summarize, we started today's video with the EBS architecture and we understood how EBS works. Then we saw how to create a new EBS volume and attach to it EC2 instance. Then we review the steps required to make the EBS volume available or accessible as a drive in a Windows EC2 instance. At the end, we understood the process to find out the mapping between the EBS volume ID and the Windows volume name. Now we came to a conclusion about today's topic. I hope I was able to clarify all your doubts. If you have any question regarding today's topic, please post your question as comment to this video. We will answer at earliest. Before we conclude today, I would like to request you please subscribe our channel and please click on the bell icon to get notification for new topics. If you want me to cover any topics, please provide your request as a comment on this video. If you appreciate our effort, please like this video. It will definitely motivate us. At the end, thank you. Please take care and stay safe.